So what we have here are some of my friend Audrey's delicious looking cucumbers. And I thought, what else would be better than perhaps doing some half sours with these? So these are the ones that she gave us, and we actually had one giant one that was growing in our garden because we were gone for a little while. So we would have picked that sooner, but we're gonna put this one on the bottom. And we're just gonna stack the rest of them in there, kind of like Tetris. We're not gonna puncture them, we're not gonna do anything to these. Some people like to poke them a few times, some people like to even cut the ends off or cut them in half. It depends on really how fast and how soft you want them. I like these really crunchy, so I like to leave them whole the way they are. So once we get them all packed in here, we're gonna make some brine. Because this is a brine ferment, not a dry ferment, not a dry brine. This is going to be a wet one. So in order to do that, first we're just going to make sure that we have enough space here and make sure that we'll have room to put the airlock down. It looks like it's a little bit crooked, so we're just going to make sure that we have enough room. So we're going to take 30 grams of non-iodized salt. In this case, I'm using Diamond brand kosher salt. And I'm weighing that out to 30 grams. And I'm gonna do 30 grams per quart of water. The nice thing about using kosher salt, and you should always use salt by weight, not by volume. Because if you take really, really fine crystals and you have 2 tablespoons of them, then you're gonna end up with more salt than you're looking for. You're gonna end up with salt that is just too salty, and you're not going to get a ferment going the way you want it to. It's going to be too high of a salinity to really make it work. So you can see that this kosher salt just dissolves in cold water. That's what you're looking for. Sea salt will do that, pickling salt will do that, kosher salt will do that. Iodized salt you're gonna have to add some sort of heat to it, and iodized salt's also going to prevent fermentation. The iodine is not helpful. So we're just stirring up a batch here. It's probably going to take more than one. I've added a little bit of dried dill and dry garlic because I actually just ran out of fresh garlic. I would have loved to put some fresh in here. Would have been just fine, but dry is still going to add some flavor. It's going to add less of the nutrients and probiotics that I would look for from a little fermented garlic, but it's still going to be tasty. So we're just seasoning that with dill and garlic powder. And I had to do a second batch here. You can see it filled up, but I want to be able to get enough so they're just barely floating. That means that I've got enough liquid in there so that when I get my airlock in place, I can press it down and watch that bubble shrink. There's sort of a bubble of air in there, and you want to shrink it down most of the way with this container. We're just getting most of the air out of there, but we don't want it to be all, see that bubble's real small, and we're just going to plug that hole. So now that we're all together, we're just gonna close this thing up and we're gonna let it sit for 5 days.